leave it to the professionals.
Last by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck
Started
is the
off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Refuse not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
Body.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Freaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
GM, welcome to Coffee with Captain. I'm Cap. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy August 19th. Happy Machiavelli's birthday. I say that, and the one time he's not out there right as we open, we'll give him birthday wishes here in a minute. I'm sure he'll be in here. He is almost every single morning. Yes, campus tour. No campus tour yet. I'm leaving after we get out of here, but that is my excuse. Valid one. I did not have my car fully charged and had to run to the supercharger this morning just to make sure we were full go, because as soon as the show ends, I've got to hit the road, drive across the street, crash Joey and Dort's neighborhood, and then move my daughter into her freshman dorm today. Don't know how it's possible, but here we are. Happy birthday to Machiavelli now that he's out there. GM, sir, hope you're having a great day. I would love to say I guess it is a great day to be born. It's a great day to be born. It's a great day to move your daughter into her freshman dorm. There is an X update, by the way. For anyone who wants to join us on X later, make sure you're on the most recent or up on stage later. Make sure you're on the most recent version of X. We are live as always here on X Audio, X Video, as well as YouTube and Abstract. And yeah, now we are good to go. I'll get all those links pinned up top here in a second. Abstract is live. Thanks, Katie. Appreciate it. And I think, did you say you moved yours in last weekend to the dorms? But yeah, hope Machiavelli's having a great day, and go give him some birthday love. If you're not already following Machiavelli, go give him a follow. Go give him some love on whatever space he has coming up, or whatever he's got coming up today. And Doodle's Toy Factory. Thanks, Maria. I had missed that. Doodle's Toy Factory goes live tomorrow, or today. That was a post from yesterday, so it goes live today. So we've got Toy Factory going live today. We've got Clock In going live today. That's the theme coin, as the kids are calling it. And yeah, good day to be born. Good day to move your daughter into college.
Yo, Cab, how does that feel, man? Because, like, listen, I saw that picture this morning with her with the whole mustache picture, and it just made me laugh out loud, literally, because, like, my kids are mine's 7 years old right now, you know, and my oldest, who's my stepson, like, you know what I mean, like, having the little one and like going through that now at this age, and like he pulls stuff like that. I saw that and it just reminded me of my kid. And then, you know, it's a big step today. Like, I think as parents, we all think about that. It's like, you know, that day that they go off to college and stuff like that. And you're moving her in today. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I'm super excited for her. I know everyone says this, so I know you're like, yeah, whatever, old man. Time flies. Time flies. I feel exceptionally fast when you are when you have children. Like, each year gets exponentially faster. And like, I know everyone's, oh, you're going to blink and you're going to be moving off to college. I'm here to tell you that's real. That actually happens. You blink and the next thing you know, they're off to school. Teacher K's, both our girls go back next week. Enjoy the last week at home. But how does it feel? Like, it doesn't feel real. Like, it just doesn't, probably hit me later today. Probably hit me on the drive home, because it's just a day trip for me, moving her in and driving back. So yeah, it'll probably hit me on the drive home. But yeah, I don't understand it. It is, I mean, and again, great day to be born, great day to move your daughter into her freshman dorm. Not a great day to be married. Not a great day to get married, I should say. Not a good day to get married. I only say that because my wedding anniversary with my ex was actually 20 years ago to this day. So I don't know how the universe, why the universe taunts us.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like
so this is a day full of
universe just taunting.
Emotions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. Like, we're fine, but it's just like, it's fun. It's more funny than anything. Like, oh yeah, because she's moving in. She's helping our daughter move in today as well. So it's like, yeah, not.
That is. But listen, isn't that like a full circle moment, yo? Because like it's also like, you know, you're doing this on a wedding anniversary. It's your daughter. There's like a culmination here, like, you know, almost like that book chapter closing, to a sense. You know what I mean? Like, the child is grown. She's off to school. You guys did your job. You know, you kind of get to celebrate this on, you know, a previous day that, you know, so it's pretty amazing if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, for those not familiar, I am divorced, so we will not be celebrating our anniversary, but we will definitely be celebrating our daughter's life, and the fact that despite said divorce, we were able to at least get our you know, at least do our first, whatever, 18, 19, she's actually 19. She just turned 19, so first 19 years. Okay, yeah, we're not old, we are vintage. I like that approach. I'm in my prime. I truly do feel like, actually, yeah, I do feel like I'm entering my prime. Like, or still in my prime, I guess I should say. Maybe I entered it probably a handful of years ago, but still very much in my prime. I feel great. I'm very fortunate that I'm in good health, and yeah, yes, I have a geriatric sleep schedule, but other than my sleep schedule, I still feel like I'm in my 20s.
You know, Cap, it's crazy because if you told me I was going to feel like this in my early 40s, I wouldn't believe you. Like, and I still feel like I'm in my 20s. I don't know if I'm in my prime or what. You know, I'm a bit overweight. You know, I don't get any sleep at night. Rarely. I'm very degenetic. You know, in my ways that I love to follow charts and stay up and do this and follow the flow of motion and stuff like that. But like, I don't know. I feel amazing. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And like, I've gotten back into my routine of like getting up early and going for a walk and not picking up the phone first.
That's good.
Doing any of these things and just kind of like sitting with my own thoughts, like, you know what I mean? And that's like relishing in the beginning of the day. I've been doing that for the past few months this summer. I call it my Rick Rubin era, you know, because it's like, I literally forget about everything else around me for the first part of the day. And like, it's done wonders for me, but like, I feel very, very just with it and alive, you know, like somebody told me, like, I remember growing up and we saw 40-year-old men and they looked old to us. you know, and somebody in their 50s was ancient.
Yep.
You know, and then like as time sped up, as society sped up, as all these things sped up, now we find ourselves there, and we're like, yo, we're not old. Like, I got another 40 or 50 ahead of me.
Yeah, I hopefully like another 80 ahead of me, but that's the plan anyways. Thomas moved his third child, gone to college. Wife still cried. Doesn't get any easier. I don't know. Maybe I'll cry. Maybe I'll get emotional. But I like. She also like doesn't live in my house. Like she lives with her mother, and so maybe that's part of it. Is and why I skew more to like excitement than sad or even emotional. I'm pretty pumped for her to have this new experience, and she's pretty excited, and we've got her all ready to go. So, anyways, I digress. We got a lot to get into this morning. We have, I think, a guest going to be joining us around 8:30, who is an attorney and has some experience with these new SEC rules, regulations, guidelines. I don't even know what the proper words are, but going to be joining us just probably 15, 20, maybe a half hour to talk through all this in great detail. And so I will, that is probably the headline today, along with some other things that are launching, that are minting. Shout out to our guy, your friend and co-host Proof Alpha Degen, our friend and co-host Proof Alpha Degen. Don't see Proof out there yet, but busy guy. Had a fun little free mint yesterday that actually pulled a 101, first 101 of the cycle. So we're going to victory lap that.
Oh, you got in on temp agency?
I did. I bought them on secondary. I missed the mint. We were trying to get our, actually, shout out to Proof Alpha Degen because he did attempt to get our Degen pass holders in the war room some allow lists there. But long story short, we were just having some issues with the tech and couldn't get it eligible in the allow list phase. And but then as soon as, and it minted out in like seconds, I probably wouldn't have been able to hit it anyways. But swept a few on the secondary. I don't even see what the floor is. Hans, thank you very much for the generous tip. Back-to-back 500 Pingu days over there. Greatly appreciate that. Let me look here on these things. I'll show you the one I got too, because it is about as for a non-honorary, it's about as perfect of a one of one as you could possibly get. Let me pull it up here in a sec. Yeah, it's called the Temp Agency. There's some. Do you know the? If he jumps in here, we'll have him jump up on stage.
I know
and explain
I
it.
had whitelist because
Well-
he said, hey, you got whitelist or whatever, but like I was in a meeting and then it launched and it minted out fast.
Yeah, like a second.
Like it wasn't even like you had to like be with the hand on the trigger. I didn't realize that I was like had a meeting during the mint time. So I didn't even see it run or anything. Like I didn't hear much of it after that. But like so excited for him. And is it his project?
Yeah. I was hesitant at first. I wasn't sure if he was going anon or not. So I asked him. He said he's definitely not going to be anonymous. So he is. I don't know if it's just him. I don't know if he is working with others on it. But as soon as we're able to get him back in here, we'll ask him. But Proof's a great one. Big fan. Love to see him crushing it this cycle. And there's let me just pull it up and I'll read it off the site, because there's these things are, there's some utility here. These are need to come up with a better word, because yes, they're all utility NFTs are a thing. I'm a big fan of utility NFTs, but not all utility NFTs are created equal. Some utility NFTs might be just access. Some might be access to events or clubs or clubhouse or membership based. Some might be in-game utility. Some might be marketing rewards. This one, and then I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of agentic NFTs. It's my understanding that's what rec traders are going to be. I kind of, and this isn't the exact same thing, but I kind of think Proof Alpha Degen here might have kind of front ran rec traders, because it's also AI agentic trading done for you, and I think trading site coming soon. Anyways, I'll show you here if you missed it. It's called Temp Agency. And I think we're going to see more and more of these agentic NFTs. To me, I was wrong. I actually thought 2025 was going to be the year of agentic NFTs. I know AI had its huge moment, ran up, but within it kind of like within we didn't see much more happening with NFTs. And even though 6551s existed, they weren't really being utilized much. I think that this over the next 6 months, I think we're going to see a lot of experiments with agentic NFTs, 6551 wallets, and then letting them go to work. I saw one yesterday that was I'll pull it up here in a second too. I don't know what it's called, but it's basically like it's an agentic NFT that it's like a politician copy trader. Like it copy trades Pelosi's wallet. And you know, the what we know about the rect traders is they'll have different personalities, and how they trade will be depending on their traits. It just like, who knows if this stuff sticks? I just think it's fun experimentation, and it might lead to it could lead to more like things that actually stick and things that escape, you know, our little Web3 bubble. Here we go. Sorry, I was having trouble getting logged in. It was in a different wallet. But this is I can't make this up. This was if I had minted it, I would have like asked him if he did something to, you know, hook me up with one. But you can check the chain. I swept them, I think 5 or 6 off the floor right after it minted out.
Did you grab the one with the coffee head?
Inadvertently. It was pre-reveal. Look at this.
Yo,
it's the coffee temp. I can't make it up.
Bro.
Can't make it up. Pulled the coffee head pre-reveal, and yeah, it's a 1-of-1 coffee temp. It's got the coffee head and coffee department in a coffee background.
Congrats.
Not bad. Yeah, it was free mint. Right after mint, I picked up a few. It was 0.0036, so a few bucks. Floor today is 0.01. So nice little what is that, a 3-ish X
That's
overnight?
A 3X. Yeah.
And then this one, the 1-of-1 has an offer on it for 0.03. So we won't steal his thunder. I know he'll be, if not today, at some point he'll be on. We'll let him tell a little more about what he's building with it. But I am again fan of the experimentation, and I think we're going to see, like, we'll see a lot of mints. Some of them will catch traction, some won't. But the ones that are much more exciting to me are the ones where they are doing some experimentation. It's a productive NFT in some regard. There's no just one way about it, but I do think someone's going to nail it on the agentic NFT front here soon. And while I think that could also be part of the stockbroker ecosystem, I think this could be one of like the leading metas of the cycle when they nail it. I just don't know exactly what that is going to be. If I knew, I'd be shipping it myself. Yeah, congrats again. Love to see it, and we'll have him on and get him a chance to talk. It was for all intents and purposes like stealth mint. I don't know how long he was working on it. He sent me DM yesterday, and we tried to get we worked on getting our DJ network pass on there in the allow list, but again, just ran some tech challenges with the mint site. And anyways, it's still low cost. If you want to go pick one up, it's 0.01. So what else is on your, I got a few other things I want to hit before we get our guest on here, and we'll start talking all things SEC and the I think super bullish news. But and then we have, actually I take that back. I've got a few things we need to knock out this morning, because we've got a few allow lists that we need to get those wallets turned in today. So let me make sure I get that. I think I got to create a new form for one of them, and we're going to try this new wheel. Mayhem, do you mind linking the wheel that I'm going to use? I didn't save or bookmark that, and we'll do a quick spin to determine. We've got rect. We've got the rec traders allow list, and we've got.
Kev, I wanted to ask you about that, man. I tried to go, I was going to go buy one of those premium yearly long subscriptions for $800 just to get access to 10 mints. And before I went to go click on it, and I used 2 devices, And so when I was about to go buy it, and it was going to let me buy it, it said that all of them had already been taken.
Oh,
So,
really? So they did
Yeah.
limit it. Oh, okay, I missed that. I wonder, is it the same on the monthly or no?
Yeah. It said that all of the pro subscriptions had been sold out for both of them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and listen, like I literally saw the post, and like it maybe had been like an hour and a half since I posted it. Like I said, I was in meetings, and then I come back to go buy it, and then I'm just scrolling on the other page, and I see Rec Markets come up, and it says, they had just made the post. All subscriptions are sold out. Pro subscriptions are sold out.
Okay.
So I was like, damn. Like, and then I know you can probably buy them secondhand somewhere or something, and I may do that. But I'm really excited to see how they move with this. And then I heard there's going to be a competition, and like you essentially could lose your trader in the competition.
Fun. Good. Bring that stuff back. Like that's, I know like burning NFTs and losing isn't for everyone, but it's kind of stuff that, yeah, yearly and monthly are sold out. Thanks, Diego. Yeah, it is actually Gabe that's joining us today. How did you know? Good guess. Are you, does that excite you? Are you not a fan of Gabe? Gabe's always been solid to me. He's popped on and helped us out a few times, talked through some things. But yeah, corporate SEC, or maybe he's one of the few like actual SEC attorneys in the space. I don't. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious how you guess that. Yeah, Gabe is planning on joining us here in about 10 minutes, 5 minutes maybe. We'll talk through this. The Recmin is essentially a gambling game. The trader trades for you or something. I don't get it. I don't doubt he'll do it. Yeah, it's not gonna be for everyone. I enjoy on-chain gaming, and while some of those games have been challenging to nail economics, tokenomics, I'd rather play this kind of a game than like a trading game than a first-person shooter, in my opinion. Awesome. So yeah, OX Lawyer says he was sleuthing. Saw me reply to his tweet. He loves Gabe, role model, as in young lawyer himself, trying to advance himself. Yeah, good, solid dude, and looking forward to hearing his thoughts. I think he kind of like a while ago, maybe like a year or two ago, he had a public post that kind of nailed this. Like basically everything the SEC came out with yesterday was, I don't want to front run him or steal his words, but he kind of almost to a T was what he had suggested and thought it'd be good for the space. I think it brings back ICO season. I think we get the next ICO season. And not only that, like I think we get a lot more businesses launching on chain due to this technology exemption. We'll get into it here in a bit. I don't want to repeat ourselves.
I'm
but
excited to see what kind of product comes out of this whole RWA situation that like the Web2 audience picks up and doesn't even realize that they're utilizing crypto.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
I think that we're in that era right now because of like the hybrid financial instruments and products starting to emerge in the markets from ETFs and everything else. That like with this marriage of the macro and the crypto markets, that like we're gonna see a couple of super products emerge over the next year that will like kind of combine everything, and people won't even know that they're using crypto.
Yep.
They'll just associate it with using dollars and buying, tokenized stocks. Yeah, no,
I agree. Those big Vlad posts yesterday on this topic, Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood. I'll share that in a minute. Before I do, I just want to go back, finish this thought on rec traders because people were asking. It's minting on OpenSea on Robinhood chain. It's going to be Friday at noon Eastern. Price is 0.02 ETH. Phase 1 for an hour. It'll be the pro annual subs we talked about, the monthly subs, rec guy holders, and cool. I thought it would be like trillionaires. Oh, per 100 billion. I might have 100 billion. Actually, I don't think I do. Yeah, I don't have 100 billion. Not even close, actually. Okay. Well, I got my rec guy. I'll be admitting that. And then new rec pro memberships are limited to 60 annual, 100 monthly. After these have been sold out, new memberships will be pausing. Existing pro memberships today are included. Snapshots for rec guy NFT holders and rec holders were taken at noon on Monday. So don't go buy one thinking you're going to get a allow list. And if you have an OSF, you also get a spot in phase 2. Rec coin holders with more than 1 billion tokens. So I'll qualify for this one, 1 mint per billion. So I'll get a few in phase 2 if it gets there. And then collab and partner slots, that's where we'll be getting our allow list for the show. But what it is, you can see here that it shows there's a video here and it's got the different archetypes. I thought this one did. Maybe not. I'm not seeing it. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. So you got an ape, you got a scalper, a reverter, tilt, range, or diamond. Those are like the different character types. And so there'll be 10,000 pixel traders. Each one has a rec guy with his own desk, own personality. Some ape, some scalp, some diamond hands, some tilt. They paper trade real markets live on real prices. Think fantasy football, but the players are degens and it only ends when one is left. The pressure ramps up over time. Nobody can hide in the cash. Traders get liquidated one by one. The last one standing wins the pot. And there will be side prizes passed along the way. You don't trade for your traders, their personalities do, but you own the desk and select the lineup. I'm excited about this. I think this is, to me, this is like much cooler than like Fantasy Top, for instance. I enjoy simulation games, but I don't like paper trading. I don't enjoy trading sims, like doing it myself, but I think like building a lineup, a personality type. So full rules mechanics will be published prior to the game starting. Whether yours wins or get wrecked, the art is yours forever. So I don't think the NFTs will burn. I think if you get liquidated, you're just like out of the contest. But and the game starts August 31st. What I wonder is if there'll be like multiple seasons. Maybe it's just a one and done and kind of a short-lived thing, and the winner wins some prizes and then it's over. Or maybe it. So
essentially, it's a game of chance, or strategy and chance.
Yep.
Because you're going to be picking up your lineup depending on what you mint or what you sweep off the floor, and then you get to choose your lineup, but essentially they trade based off of their personalities. This is really, really interesting, the way that they're combining agentic usage here.
Yep.
Because I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before.
I haven't, not exactly like this, but I do think we're going to start seeing a lot more, not exactly, but I think we're going to see a lot more similar things or things in this vein where it's turning these into NFTs into smart agents that do different things on chain. Some might trade and then you have a fantasy contest around it. Some might, I just, who knows what we see. I think this very well could kick off another meta of the cycle. What sounds yeah, it is agentic. What's the lineup one picks? Crypto, stocks? I would guess both, because on chain, that is. But yeah, I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing both. Especially since Robinhood chain has such a focus on tokenized stocks and RWAs. Mel's stoked for it, even if she doesn't get a play. Sounds like fun. Yeah, I think it will be. While we wait on Gabe here, and he may not be able to join. We're going back and forth, so I don't want to. This is not definitely not engagement bait, but I think he might join, but it's not. We didn't get confirmation, so we will see. If not, I will share some of his thoughts on this. If he's not able to make it this morning. Vlad had this to say yesterday, following the SEC news, and we'll share that here in a bit. So I'm going to kind of go backwards, so we can wait for Gabe till we start diving deep in the SEC stuff. But Vlad, CEO of Robinhood, said this: "It's becoming increasingly clear that we are in the early innings of the global tokenization super cycle. Last year, I called it a freight train that cannot be stopped and one that will eat the entire financial system." Pretty strong opening. Since then, tokenization has entered the mainstream public consciousness, and it hasn't just been talk. Outside the US, Robinhood has been early and consistent in shipping products that push the frontiers of this new technology. Just over 1 month ago at our London event, The World is Flat, we launched the mainnet of Robinhood chain, the first chain purpose-built for real-world assets. It has since become the fastest EVM chain to reach 100 million transactions, with stock tokens as a core primitive, giving people in over 120 countries economic exposure to 190 US stocks backed one-to-one by underlying shares. But there's one big gap. Stock tokens aren't yet tradable, are not yet available in the US. The debate over equity tokenization in America has been split into two camps: eager enthusiasts asking when tokenized stocks will be available here, and skeptics asking what's even the point. Unlike many overseas markets where access to US equities and other high quality RWAs can be limited, in America, we already have companies like Robinhood offering several low cost and accessible avenues to own US stocks. There's also been a debate about structure of tokenized stocks themselves. Today, Robinhood stock tokens are fully backed by the underlying securities and give holders economic exposure to those assets on chain, including dividends. They are not the same thing as directly owning the underlying shares, but focusing only on the distinction misses what is new. For the first time, we can tokenize exposure to high quality financial assets and make those tokens portable, programmable, self-custodiable, and available 24/7 with an open financial ecosystem. And this is the only one-way tokenization. This is only one way tokenization can be structured. As regulatory frameworks mature, we expect the token design to evolve further, including tokenized equities that carry the full rights of traditional shares. So not just dividends, but voting is what I interpret there, or how I read that. Tokenization is the best path to modernizing the American financial system and expanding the dream of ownership and to all Americans included. Tokenization isn't about putting stocks on the blockchain for the sake of it. Rather, I think this is a key point here. Rather, we are rebuilding the infrastructure underneath ownership so that assets can move as freely as information does on the internet. For American investors, the infrastructure unlocks 3 immediate advantages. First, tokenization enables real-time settlement and makes markets more resilient. The GameStop fiasco must never happen again. I wrote about this in January, but to recap, the trading restrictions at the heart of the GameStop episode were driven primarily by legacy clearinghouses' risk management rules that apply to 2-day settlement period. We helped push the industry from 2-day settlements to 1-day settlement. Even so, brokerages are still forced to put up significant amounts of cash to reduce the risk in the time between a stock trade and its settlement. On the blockchain, stocks can trade, settle, and move in real time. Real-time settlements mean much less risk and pressure on the system, particularly in the times of severe market stress. Second, tokenization enables 24/7 trading. Markets are now global, and news often happens outside of trading hours and on weekends. By the time the market opens on Monday, prices can move significantly, and institutional investors have had the ability to put on complicated hedges to manage this type of risk for decades, but the individual investors have not. 24/7 trading, therefore, not just a tool for capture new opportunities, but also for risk management. Robinhood is already pushing the limits with 24/5 trading in the US by using traditional means, and will continue to innovate towards an always-on model, but making that work seamlessly by stitching together various exchanges and alternative trading systems has been complex. On blockchains like Robinhood Chain, the 24/7 trading and fractionalized ownership come built in. We've already seen how powerful this is on Robinhood Chain and other protocols where people trade millions of dollars of stock tokens outside the US on the weekends. The internet doesn't sleep, and markets shouldn't either. Finally, tokens give people more control over their assets and forces financial platforms to compete. In TradFi, moving your assets from one broker via legacy ACAT rails could be painful, multi-day process. Many don't do it because of the uncertainty of having assets in limbo, especially when the market moves. Tokenization enables moving assets instantly across the globe, whether you're TradFi platforms or in the world DeFi. By taking friction out of the equation, portability forces platforms to compete on price and innovation. Customers can optimize for a great experience rather than being locked into a walled garden. And portability is just one of the many benefits of self-custody, the ability for people to hold their stock tokens in a crypto wallet. In addition to giving people greater control, self-custody also opens the door to do more with your assets directly, including lending and using them as trading collateral through DeFi. We're already seeing developers on Robinhood Chain building new stock token applications we don't anticipate. We believe this will only accelerate and improve our RWA primitives and give developers more tools to build an increasingly vibrant on-chain economy. By unlocking these benefits in America will require more technology. More than a century of U.S. security laws and regulations have produced a complex web of requirements built around the market structure and technology of an earlier era. Many of those rules serve important investor protection and market integrity goals, but their implementation has also forced legacy infrastructure that is increasingly out of step with what modern technology can do. Market participants are beginning to move toward blockchain-based systems, but policymakers need to modernize those rules so they can preserve those protections while enabling fundamentally better infrastructure. They need to move quickly. Other jurisdictions will not wait for America to catch up, and this is getting this right has far-reaching implications. Almost done. Public stocks are only the beginning. Tokenized public equities give us the foundation to build the infrastructure, liquidity, and on-chain ecosystems that can eventually support a much broader universe of assets. Just over the horizon are asset classes where access and liquidity are far more limited today, particularly shares of private companies. Technology alone won't remove any barrier. The accredited investor standard, for example, still locks most Americans out of private markets, but getting the infrastructure right for the public stocks can pave the way for broader access, greater liquidity, and entirely new forms of ownership. American investors should benefit from this innovation too. These are, after all, largely American assets and American companies like Robinhood in driving much of the innovation. It would be strange if a strange outcome if the rest of the world could build the future of ownership around American assets while Americans themselves are left behind. I know it's a long post, but I don't think many, or I know not all of you would read it. So doing my part today, sending my daughter off to college, trip down school lane there and read it in public. It's pinned up top if anyone wants to go back and read it yourself later. But let me DM Gabe real quick and see if he is able to. Oh, how do I join? Let me share the link. Why we're getting Gabe on here, if you don't mind, let's get this thing warmed up for him. Appreciate some extra love on the space. And actually, the new algo hack is just hit the copy button, copy link. So go to, like, you're sharing it, either the arrow up top at the top of the audio space, or click through the space. It's pinned up all the way to the right, one in from the right actually, and then the share button in the bottom right. Just share, copy link. You don't even have to share it anywhere. You can simply just click the button, and that'll
that's
boost us.
Gas, because that means if everybody in your space just copies the link, doesn't even have to send it out, like, it boosts your algo.
Exactly.
Major.
More so than anything else, which is interesting. They may change that, but Dobbins just shared. Oh, that makes sense. Externally owned account. Okay, interesting. We'll come back to that here in a bit. I see Gabe joined us in space. We'll get him up here in a second. And let me go pull up some post while we do that. But most of ours are first come, first serve. I might have a guarantee or two for that rec trader that's going to the war room. So we got the war room spots, and then we also will have some just pure listener spots. I think 4 or 5 of those. I need to double check. I don't want to overcommit. Maybe I already have, but I also have one other collection that's minting tomorrow as well, that we will pull some allow list spots today for that also. But without further ado, I want to be respectful and appreciative of our guests' time today. Gabriel, you've got some big fans in the chat. Before we even shared you were joining us, OX Lawyer says I was sleuthing. He asked, is Gabe Shapiro coming on today? I said I was sleuthing. Saw a reply of your tweet of his. He says, I love Gabe. He's my role model as a young lawyer trying to advance myself. He said he's really intelligent dude. I consume his content, and he's given a few lectures for lawyers at seminars, more than a few, I'm sure. Gabe, your reputation precedes yourself. I know you're a super busy guy, but I appreciate you joining us this morning and giving us a more of an expert's perspective on this big news out of the SEC this morning. I'm sure I didn't do your background justice there. So before we jump into the news from the SEC yesterday, do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself, by way of background, anything you'd like to share about yourself with our audience today?
Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah, I've been a corporate and securities lawyer for something like 17 years now. Started half of that in big law, doing big ticket M&A, almost all tech deals on the buy side. And when I read about Ethereum smart contracts, I got super interested in crypto, and so have kind of been doing that for the second half of my career here. I have a startup called MetaLex that does basically corporate finance on chain, tokenization, and things of that nature.
Awesome. For those, I mean, I think your startup is linked in your profile. Give him a follow if you've not done so already. For those catching the audio later, the X handle is Lex, LEX_node. And you can find his company, tokenizing companies, at MetaLex Labs. So METALEX_labs. Knowing that's what you're building, I got to imagine, and I also saw that, like, you had a post a couple years ago, basically like calling your shot. Like, this is what the SEC should do. This is how they should do. And they kind of almost took your thing and ran with it. Like, I think what we saw yesterday, I'm sure there's some differences and maybe some feedback or some critique you'd have, but having had that vision or that hopes maybe that this is the route they should go, building a business that's tokenizing companies on chain. I'm guessing you got to be pretty excited when you saw this news yesterday. Was this kind of confirmation? Did you really expect this to come, or were you somewhat shocked when you saw the announcement?
Yeah, it's very exciting. And I think generally speaking, it's very good and very coherent. The what it really people have been excited about the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act still may pass. What this basically is it's very very similar to the securities law parts of the Clarity Act. Obviously there's a lot of things in Clarity Act. There's things about commodities laws. There's things about banking laws. A lot of things, but this is very similar to a portion of Clarity, the portion that is under the SEC's jurisdiction. And so, I think the timing here is not coincidental. With Clarity potentially having stalled in Congress, or certainly being delayed at minimum. The timing here was not coincidental, and the SEC is basically saying, okay, well, if Congress doesn't do it, we'll do it. And so, for all the reasons that people like Clarity, I think people will also like this. It doesn't solve every issue, but the headline, that I would say is, to be a little bit simplistic, it legalizes ICOs. I mean, at the end of the day, that's basically what it is. ICOs are, really what fed the first bull run in 2017. And they've started becoming popular again with the Trump administration because there's a friendlier regulatory environment for them, although still somewhat gray area. And this kind of turns the gray area black and white, and would make them completely legal, assuming the proposal is adopted.
Yeah, and before you jumped on, I even was saying, not only is this, I think it's going to bring back ICO season 2.0, and to your point, effectively legalizes ICOs. I think it's going to lead to a lot more startups launching on chain. If you look at just and maybe not right away, maybe it's not the floodgates are going to open, but fast forward a couple of years and people will start seeing what's happening. If you're launching a startup, there's going to be a lot of advantages to launching on chain, in addition to all those of us that believe in blockchain tech and how it can unlock and enhance existing product services, et cetera. Just simply from a fundraising standpoint, I mean, maybe I'm way off here in how I'm reading this thing, but I almost I don't know why you wouldn't launch on chain now that you're going to have these legal fundraising mechanisms at your disposal. No?
Yeah, I think that's a very good prediction. If you think back to the 2017 bull run and the ICO craze back then, what did it turn into, and why did it grind to a halt? Basically, it started out with crypto native people, enthusiasts, these white papers for, very kind of nerdy ideas. I mean, cool ideas, but nerdy ideas, niche ideas for using tokens with video games and, all kinds of things. But by the end of it, because it had become so big, you had normal Silicon Valley backed tech companies like Telegram, like Kick. I'm not quite sure why it was messaging companies that specifically focused on this, but those are just normal companies. They don't have anything to do with crypto before that, and some others as well, less well known ones. Had one well known Silicon Valley client. I guess I can't say their name, but there were a bunch of Silicon Valley companies interested in launching a token, and they were just normal. So that was when the SEC started getting a little upset, because they were like, oh, you can basically fulfill all the needs of this that you would do through a normal securities raise by doing these tokens, and they're outside the securities laws, and that's when they slammed the brakes on it, right? So now fast forward to now with this exemption for token sales. Well, I think you'll get the exact same thing, because one of the interesting things with this version, which is I would say a little bit different from Clarity, is that there's nothing here that requires your product or your company to be decentralized in order to do a token sale, right? What they focused on is they sort of narrowed the Howey test, which people may know about. I won't summarize it here in detail unless people want to, but they sort of narrowed the Howey test in a certain sense to say, well, if no entrepreneurial efforts have been promised or represented fairly explicitly by the team, then it's not reasonable to expect those, and therefore, the Howey test does not apply. So basically, what a team can lose the fear of is this token perpetually being a security. They can come out and they can say, look, we're going to sell a bunch of the tokens. We're going to use this to, build a DEX, or, we're going to use this to add payments features to our messaging app. That's how we're going to use the capital, and that the role of the token within that is going to be to get like preferential transfer pricing or whatever it is. And then, if they build that, then their obligations are complete at that point. They don't have to report forever. The the token transactions are not covered by the securities laws forever, and it's relatively cabined. And they have an exemption to raise up to 75 million pursuant to that type of project. So many normal companies, because you could sell to unaccredited investors, it's going to be immediately liquid. The only real burden of it is doing some extra, disclosures to the SEC. Many normal companies will have both a token and equity, right? Because why not? You have access to retail capital that would be very difficult to access otherwise. And all you have to do is, sell them a token instead of a normal security. So people are going to use this. Mainstream companies will use it. A lot of them will double dip token and equity. Of course, it's also great for projects that only want to have a token and be crypto native. We work with MetaDAO and we work with Umia and some other, launch pads that are very strict about being token only. That makes it more investable and so on. But I think you'll find a rage, and everyone will benefit from this.
Man, I'm stoked. So, I mean, that's how, based on what you described, is kind of how the Turbo thing. I was getting pretty excited. You know what? It's also help me understand like what's next, because you said the word, it's a proposal. How does this get put into law, or like what's the process from here? And is this something like we could see like actually live and in flight in weeks and months? Is this like going to take years? What does like a regulatory proposal actually mean? And then what's the next steps to actually making it a rule? Because it's not a law per se, since it's the SEC and not Congress. Is my understanding of that at least correct? Or
the SEC rules have the force of law because as long as it's within the SEC's authority, because the securities laws passed by Congress, contain sort of broad delegations on securities laws to the SEC. So it effectively is a rule that functions as a law once it is adopted. The process, it is a proposal. The SEC has rules it has to follow for proposing a rule and then adopting it. I don't have all the procedures memorized, and sometimes they vary them. It's at least a 30-day comment period that's required.
Okay.
But Gensler did some of those by custom. I think it's more like 90 days. So I would imagine this one is at least 90 days. And they're going to get a lot of comments.
And who's commenting on that?
Is it friendly? And some will be angry.
Who's commenting? Is it other people? Okay. Is it other people? Like who are the commenters, I guess, in this case?
Anyone can comment. You can comment.
Really?
You can send a comment.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Huh.
And I think, a lot of people will. I'm talking with some of my clients and some of our commercial partners, about sticking points for them. They make some comments. I mean, one of the weird ones in there is I think it's a little bit too strict on requiring a U.S. nexus. And I think you have to have a majority of your assets in the U.S. Your entity has to be in the U.S. You have a majority of your board of directors has to be in the U.S. I think that one's a little overkill, even though generally the proposal is good. So I may make a comment on that. But generally speaking, there's this comment period. They're going to review the comments. They may make some changes based on the comments. They often do in a rulemaking process. And the other one with this that I think could be a little bit of an unusual wrinkle. If you read Laura Shin's news story from yesterday, she basically theorized, I assume based on some sources that she has, that part of the reason why the SEC meeting about this that was originally supposed to happen last week was delayed was because they are getting threats or complaints or possibly even threats from some securities intermediary organizations, specifically SIFMA. And so there may be there's the potential for legal challenges on this from entrenched interests within the securities industry or organizations like Better Markets, which are very sort of Elizabeth Warren influenced. So that may end up being an element here. I'm not sure strategically if their best bet is to make a challenge during this notice and comment period or to wait until the rule is passed and pass it then. There may be a ripeness issue, if the rule hasn't gone into effect yet, so they may not be able to sue until it's gone into effect. But I expect, I would be somewhat surprised if there are not additional legal challenges to this from the securities industry.
Interesting. So even though, so they can comment, they can challenge, maybe someone files a suit. Is it safe to assume though that from, and then I guess my assumption after that comment period, is it just go to a vote of the members of the SEC?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not super fresh on all the internal procedures. Ultimately, it does have to be approved by the by commissioners, as long as a voting process.
And I assume, like at this point, since they published the proposal, it's like almost a foregone conclusion that it gets passed. Like, yes, they may listen to comments, maybe make some changes, but outside of some, suit that maybe delays it, I'm guessing that like the voters are probably at least they're probably confident they have at least the majority to get this thing up over the goal line.
Yeah, it would not have been passed if they didn't. It would not have been published if there wasn't a majority of the commissioners supporting it, and the commissioners published supporting statements with it. Hester Peirce, Atkins. I didn't check if all of them published supporting statements, but sufficient.
Nice. So you mentioned one thing that like you do got there'll be a little bit extra filing. I've got some bullet points pulled up here. I mean, there's a lot of breaking this down. This one, the couple of the bullet points. The one thing I had some questions on was, yes, you can raise up to $75 million a year under this plan, and that would require some additional filings and whatnot. And then, but there's also language where you could raise up to $5 million without full SEC registration or investor caps. Can you like, I think I understand that, but do you mind, what's the difference there? What is, is that like?
Yeah, essentially, just less disclosure, and one of the big differences would be, whether audited financials are required or not as part of the disclosure. There's kind of like 3 tiers. I think there's the 5 million tier, which I believe doesn't have any formal filing requirements. Yeah, we need to double check that. It's a 400-page release, and then there's the up to 75 million, which is really meant to mirror something called Regulation A Plus that already exists. It's also referred to as a mini IPO, and that, just like Regulation A Plus, has kind of like 2 tiers for different amounts of money that you can raise, and the highest tier requires audited financials, which will be a bigger burden. But presumably, you're expecting to raise a lot of money so you can afford the extra lawyer fees and the extra accountant fees and things like that.
Makes sense. I mean, but for those that aren't familiar, audited financials aren't just like going to your accountant and having him provide financials. You're probably, even for like a small startup, you're probably talking what, like 25, maybe 50K accounting bill for something like assuming it's got any history.
For crypto projects, my guess is it will be more. I mean, put it this way, there's only one crypto project that ever did a Regulation A plus. As far as I know, it was called Stacks back in the day. It was kind of like a Bitcoin L2. It still exists, I believe. And they paid, their overall cost for doing a Reg A plus with the financials and all that, was well in excess of $1 million. Now they were the first to do it, so obviously there were lots of novel issues. So I expect it'll be similar here. The initial costs for ones doing the highest tier will probably be fairly high because there will be, number one, auditors are very conservative. And so, they almost require you to pay them to protect themselves. And, they do a lot of CYA and they really are going to do intense investigation for these ones. And then there's obviously going to be a lot of back and forth with the SEC staff as part of the initial ones, because they'll be reviewing them very closely. They'll be asking a lot of questions. And so, lawyers will be involved in that. And it will be an expensive undertaking for the first few, but then obviously the market will kind of figure out how these work. It'll take the first couple and use them as templates and just kind of, lemming like follow them. And the cost should come down significantly, over time. I'd say maybe, by like the second year of people doing these, but.
Yeah. And not to oversimplify things. And I know that it won't be just exactly copy pasta, but is it correct in thinking that because it's on chain, that it's probably also like getting to like a point of like, okay, now we have the boilerplate templates. Now we have the, to your point, after a year or so, this could become incredibly efficient to fundraise this route.
I think so. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
So
part of my question is, one question mark in my mind is how much smart contract automation stuff they will allow, because and ZK style KYC, right? Because one of the requirements for, I'm not sure if it's all the tiers or just the upper tier. I can't recall off the top of my head, but one of the potential requirements is that you have to, similar to Regulation CF, which is another crowdfunding regulation that already exists that lets you sell to unaccredited, et cetera, except illiquid. You have to assess that the relevant person is not investing too much of their net worth in a given offering or in these types of offerings overall. And so, in theory, that can involve very, very extensive and annoying, KYC over the person. And so, one of my questions will be, okay, are these going to have to be fully KYC'd offerings, or can we use stuff like ZK Passport, which is what we use on MetalX, where someone uses, a third-party app, they scan their passport, that generates some type of proof that they may be from a certain country or that they've made certain attestations and things like that, but that you don't have to, every issuer doesn't have to extensively get a copy of their passport, and review and prove all these things, right? So that'll be a big question in the implementation here. I may comment on that as well during this comment period, but it's kind of one of the open questions.
Super excited, Gabe. So what, from my perspective, as a builder, this excites me because I think it, as I mentioned earlier, I think it will potentially soon lead to more entrepreneurs building on chain, and maybe they come on chain just because it's a simpler path to raising 5 or 75 million. But then I think what else can we do with the tech once we're here, right? I think it could be exciting for on chain growth. It's period. It gets me excited to see things like MetalX that are turning startups into robots, to quote your tagline here: corporate finance, government super app for founding, governing, and exiting your company cybernetically. I think that, which a few years ago might have seemed like, oh, that's science fiction, to where now it seems like we're here. And not only are we here, I think the masses might start looking to this. And as a result, you could think, oh, that's going to bring more liquidity on chain. It's going to be more, depending on what those companies build, more active participants on chain. Outside of the opportunity of simply just more businesses, more people, more participants, more capital on chain. For those listening in, and for those that are deep and really passionate about this, we encourage y'all, go, if you've got comments or thoughts or feelings, comments are, as we learned today, open to everyone. How else might we, what other opportunities do you think might become or come to be because of this change? How might people here position themselves?
The biggest thing, if I might answer briefly, the biggest thing to me, the biggest sort of ceiling on MetalX's growth, for example, is simply the number of people who have and know how to use a crypto wallet, right? Because, there's a lot of call, you talk to VCs and stuff like that. They're like, oh, just hide that it's a crypto app. But if you hide it, don't show people, don't make people use it, do everything through email, right? But if you do all that, in my opinion, you really lose most of the benefits of crypto as well, right? Which is the self-sovereignty, lack of intermediation, self-custody, all these things, right? And sometimes even efficiency as well. So the more types of normal companies that make their users or their investors or whoever have to learn how to use wallets and have a wallet in order to invest or use a token, that is the biggest limit to the industry's growth. And so giving more people wallets is the biggest accelerant, right? So to me it really is that simple. PKI is kind of one of the big unlocks of crypto, but you can't use PKI unless you have a wallet. So we need to get more people using it.
Yeah, no, I mean, for someone who became active in the space in 21, thanks to NFT sending me down a rabbit hole, I do think that, ICOs brought in a class of people, NFTs brought in a class of people, some passionate about collectibles, some passionate about on-chain gaming. A lot of individuals though. I think this could be the big onboarding event for the corporations, for the startup world. We talk about, the on-chain Y Combinator, and I think all of us crypto natives, a lot of us have drank the Kool-Aid. We believe this is a great place to build a business for many reasons. I won't go into all of those details right now, but I think this is really, maybe not to get ahead of ourselves. The thing still has to pass the comments, get actually put into an actual role. But assuming this goes forward, this I could see it very much so as a great onboarding mechanism, because it's not just those businesses that are going to launch. It's often then, even if they're using something like Privy or social sign-ins, like it's going to lead to, even if not end users, it's going to lead to investors coming on chain. And it's just like this continues to build and build and build. Something that I thought we'd get to this point. Candidly, I did not expect it to come from the SEC quite like this. You mentioned the Clarity Act. Do you think, I got to imagine, like, this didn't come to be? I'm assuming behind the scenes, the SEC was almost building this proposal out as kind of like Plan B to drop in the event that the Clarity Act didn't pass?
Yeah, I mean, I think Atkins has been chomping at the bit to do something himself, and he probably secretly hopes the Clarity Act doesn't pass, so that he can kind of put his stamp on history, and be the one to put in place a framework. The other thing is that, like, their whole agenda, I think, actually, this gets into some pretty legally esoteric points, but if you look at their agenda for the year, it has things like Rule 144 on it, which is like, it will play into this exemption as well, and like dovetails very well. So like you can kind of see that they really probably have set up their whole agenda to dovetail with this proposal. And obviously the first year of Trump's admin, me and a lot of other lawyers and crypto people were going into the SEC and talking to them a lot. They held these roundtables. So, it's all been very much part of a plan, and it's been well executed.
It's exciting. I mean, I said it yesterday. I'm old enough to remember the former chair of the SEC and his war on crypto and firing off Wells notice seemingly on a weekly basis. It's like it's like a literal 180. Like in just a few years, going from wanting to shut all this down and going after these companies to, hey, not only are we cool with this now, but more of you should launch your businesses and raise funds on chain. It's wild to think how quickly the tide shifted there. Is it as like, you mentioned the current administration. Is it that simple, or is it Atkins that's driving all this? Like, it just seems such a drastic, I'm not complaining, but it does seem like such a drastic shift in a relatively short period of time. Is there something else that I'm not seeing that maybe drove this change?
No, I mean, I think it's really that, we have a pro-crypto president. He got a lot of crypto donations. He appointed a crypto-friendly SEC chair. And, I would say I won't even say unsung, the heroine of this is really Hester Peirce, right? Because he was, fighting the Gensler regime the whole time, right? And she's really capping off her, she did a maximum, she stayed at the SEC as long as a commissioner is allowed to stay at the SEC. She's running up against her term limit now. But he really was the person who spearheaded this. You had mentioned, the different proposals that were sent into the SEC over the years. I had an organization with some friends of mine, Sarah Brennan and Mark Hilditch, called LexPunk, that was submitted something called Regulation X. I also personally submitted, another version of an exemption. But all of these were forks of Hester Peirce's exemption that she had that's kind of started the ball rolling. And this ultimately is pretty similar to what her exemption was. So I would say she's really sort of the heroine of all this, and the one who deserves by far the most praise. But the so if not for her, I don't think it ever would have happened. She had carried the torch. But yeah, it's a political thing. It is because of Trump. It is because of Atkins being crypto friendly, and that's just how it goes. And the risk, what I worry about is that's why the Clarity Act would still be better than the SEC putting in regs, because although it's somewhat hard to reverse an SEC regulation, I think a hostile, just as this administration is reversing the Gensler regime, an AOC or a Gavin Newsom administration could reverse a lot of this stuff unless Congress does something. So I still greatly prefer the Clarity Act, and you're very right to have whiplash over how fast things have changed, and to be worried about the potential for more whiplash, in another 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, it would be whiplash for real. That's a great way to put it, because
Hi, Donna here. I just want to, morning to everyone.
Good morning.
I just want to put a, double underscore under what Gabe just said. And it's been said both by Chair Atkins and by Chair Selig that they could do all of the rules that they want, make any of the proposals. But if in fact doesn't get codified by Congress, then they're fearful that the next chair of either the SEC or the CFTC that are working very closely together now could reverse what was going on. So we do need certainty, and certainty, of course, as we know, brings innovation, brings the capital markets back and the entrepreneurs back to the US, and it makes it obviously easier for lawyers to advise clients and projects with greater certainty as to what the outcomes might be. So I'm just going to put a double score under that. And yes, we give the biggest hand in the world to Commissioner Peirce for all that she's done.
Yeah, she's awesome. I've got her. I pinned up her post, her comments on this. I pinned it up top. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if any of you care to read all that in detail, her comments are also pinned up top. I will take an excerpt out of it. She just says, the moral of the story was that rules should be written so that well-intentioned people can follow them without having to abandon legitimate pursuits. Like when I think of Hester, I just like common sense. Like she's just like, it's yes, pro crypto, but it's just like what I've seen come from her, what I've seen her in the talks or in writing. It just seems like very, well, yeah, that makes sense. My question will go to Donna and then back to Gabe. Thanks for joining us this morning, Donna. I appreciate your insight as well. Donna, do you so excuse my ignorance on this topic, but let's say play this out, this fast forward, the comment period, the proposal then becomes an actual SEC rule. Does that potentially, is that a step towards maybe Congress submitting a different bill that becomes law, or will this, I guess what I'm getting to, is this an and or when it comes to the Clarity Act? Like might this proposal become law and then lead to another bill that gets proposed in Congress in addition to the Clarity Act, or might this kind of force the hand of the Clarity Act? How does that, to your point, how do we get to the point where this is a law and in the next future administration can't undo it all?
Well, I mean, and someone will speak up if this is not correct. I mean, law is created by Congress. Regs are created by the agencies. So we do need clarity, and not only clarity as the legislation, but clarity in terms of all of this. So yes, in the interim, having the agencies cooperate together and create some rules is a great idea, and it's a giant step forward from where we were a year ago. But certainty will only come with the legislation. And my guess is, and it's just a guess, that a lot of it is designed to mirror what the agency heads are in the process of doing now. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. No, thank you. And I guess then to expand on that, question for Gabe would be, having some insight there, having worked with some of these agencies or these groups, like, is this, how does Congress take to something like this? I know it's different personalities, different people are going to take it different ways, but is this like, oh, cool, this is great, let's work together? Or are there going to be some that are like, this is a slap in the face, they're trying to backdoor us or front run us? Or does this create any extra tension when between?
It creates, yes, it does. It creates a huge split. It changes the risk calculus for Democrats and for anyone opposing this bill, right?
Okay.
Because the part of the reason why clarity stalled, in my opinion, is that we're heading into midterms. Trump and the Republicans aren't looking so popular as often happens, with a midterm party that's dominant, and the Dems don't want to hand Republicans any win, and a crypto bill could be perceived as a Trump win. So that's part of the calculus. Now, with this, it changes the calculus, right? Because if there are good things for Dems, got a lot of compromises in the Clarity Act, right? It's not like it's not the most like DDEM possible crypto regulation that possibly could have been passed. There's a lot of good, really things are regulated, and there's a lot of good line drawing in it, that generally would be beneficial to the Dems. So if they, just sort of let the SEC, there's now an alternative. If they don't pass clarity, the SEC will pass this, and in some ways that could be a lot worse for them, right? The rules will, arguably be laxer, right? Like this doesn't have any sort of decentralization requirement in it, whereas the Clarity Act kind of does. And so, in some sense, you could say that the exemptions and such would be potentially narrower under the Clarity Act. And so the Dems potentially will lose something now, if they don't pass clarity, and they may get something that they and their constituents like even less than what the Clarity Act would be.
Is this, and I really appreciate all the information. It's been very helpful and informative. I will have a few other questions on the specifics of this proposal. I just saw someone share with me that the 5 million is actually a 4-year aggregate, not annual, and the issuer gets one use. So it basically caps that startup exemption at 4 years, where the Rule 200B4 caps the aggregate proceeds at 5 million across the period. Rule 200 restricts the issuer to one-time use, and then placed next to 75 million a year headline. And so it's like the 75 million is annually, the 5 million is in total aggregate over a 4-year period. There's obviously nuances, and there could be some comments and things could change, but I know I read some bullet points earlier, and if this is something you're really into, like go read the thing yourself, because it's I don't want to try to mislead anyone or give you wrong impressions here. I got another ignorant question probably. I saw last week, I think it was on Friday, there was supposed to be an SEC meeting, and they were going to talk about a innovation exemption, and the meeting got postponed or delayed. Is this what was the intent of that meeting that came out of that, or is that something entirely different?
I truly don't know. I don't know. The other thing that has been discussed for an innovation exemption is securities, tokenized securities and things like that. I'm personally completely unclear on this terminology, and whether this is the innovation exemption or something else was. Innovation exemption sounds to me more like tokenized securities, and that would a little bit more fit with Laura Finn's story about SIFMA having concerns, around those potential rules. But on the other hand, the idea that they would be doing two proposals back to back within days of each other, two huge proposals, completely separate, is also somewhat hard to believe. So I really don't know. Maybe Donna knows. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they were supposed to meet on last Friday, but I've heard similar to you, Gabe, that the innovation exemptions in and around that. I just also want to underscore another thing, is that we're in a very different position than we were, and I don't mean only because of the heads of the agencies, that the infrastructure of financial service is changing rapidly. This is not just some fringe crypto groups that are like enamored with blockchain anymore. This is every major financial services institution having groups working on how do you get their securities to go on chain and get ready to trade 24/7. This is a different world, and it's much broader. And so these are regulated industries that do need some guideposts as to what they can or they can't do. And also, this is not just being spearheaded by a bunch of crypto people anymore. You've got the New York Stock Exchange, you've got the NASDAQ, you've got every major bank making stable coins. So, I mean, this is a different environment than we were in. So I do think that getting the SEC, CFTC, and Congress to get their bills and rules done is critical at this point. I don't know how you feel about that, Gabe.
Yep, fully agree.
Like, I don't want to get too excited to the points that many people brought up, and in another chat, there was just several comments on basically like the war on cryptos, could very well come back in 2 years. And so for as much as the excitement and pro crypto things seem now and how much we've moved forward, there is a world where the war on crypto comes back. I hope that's not the case. I guess my question is, I know I'm working under some assumptions here, but assuming this proposal passes, it becomes a SEC rule, and founders, teams, entrepreneurs, they raise 5 million or up to 75 million under this rule. Even if the administration changes and they say, hey, you can't do this anymore, it's not like they're going to come back on those that were in full compliance during this 2-year period. Is that?
That would be very unrealistic. What I think, what the way these things go is just there's always what we call weasel words in any type of rule, right? And then there's also always the ability to revise a rule or just to change the interpretation of it, right? So, what a hostile let's assume this rule passes, people start raising under it, et cetera. What a hostile administration would do is they would not like reverse it or like go and sue those people, but they would look for like they would just like make it harder every time someone files a disclosure. They would make the process much harder, right? Like they would start like saying, oh, well, actually, we think to give like full material disclosure about this, you now need to add like a gigantic section about all your conflicts of interest, right? Or things like that, right? And so they would just make it harder like that. And then they would potentially look for any type of like misleading statement in any of the disclosures that were done previously, and try to sue for misrepresentations and things like that. But, they wouldn't be able to go and like actually just like retroactively make compliant things, illegal again, right? But they could change it going forward, and they could be a real pain in the ass, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, not going to go back after anyone, but yeah, we just talked about, after, a few months, a year, like the boilerplate, the template type, almost like rubber stamp. Yeah, you're good. You check all the boxes. That definitely goes away at probably at best, that it just becomes far more challenging to get this stuff approved. And
yeah, there's an interesting, one nuance I didn't focus on in the proposal. Now I want to go back and look is whether the disclosures that you have to file are self-executing or not, because there's two kinds of ways really three kinds of ways you can file with the SEC. One is registration, which means the SEC has to agree to register your offering. One is qualification, which is what is done under Regulation A+, which is a slightly lower standard, but like basically the SEC has to say that what you disclose, like your offer qualifies for the exemption. And another one is just a notice filing. And that doesn't require any actual staff action. So how that breaks down for these specific disclosures will greatly affect how annoying a hostile SEC could be for these things. Because if it requires their approval in any way, then obviously they can really drag their feet. If it's a notice filing, then, they could challenge things after the fact, but they have limited ability to actually like stop these offerings.
Makes sense.
Just a fast question. And maybe somebody could weigh in. So there already exists a thing called the Jobs Act, which allows companies that have less than $1 billion in revenue to raise money through crowdfunding sites, et cetera. And it allows people that are non-accredited investors to invest. How can we coordinate between the Jobs Act and the new stuff that the SEC is proposing now? And why can't we just fall under the umbrella? Is it the amount of money? I think under CF you can raise $5 million annually.
Well, basically this is modeled after that. I mean, this is modeled after Regulation A+ pretty closely. So, they're not calling it Regulation A+, but it's nearly the same, just with slightly different rules, right? So I think it's kind of there. Obviously, you can stack exemptions. So like you could do a Regulation D offering privately in addition to these other exemptions, and then like the 5 million cap wouldn't apply to that, I believe. Don't quote me on that because it's a 400-page release, but that should be the concept. But it would be a very weird thing for anyone to stack a Reg CF offering with these things, because these things are better, right? Like Reg CF, you have to, the securities have to be illiquid, right, in order to sell to unaccredited. Even Regulation A+, they can be liquid, but then there's like this transfer agent requirement. So like now you got to have a transfer agent for your tokens. that would be a pain, right? So I think it's relatively unlikely people will try to stack Reg CF and Reg A plus with these. They probably will try to stack Reg D and Reg S with these in certain ways. But either way, it's kind of, you're getting a very similar structure to the Jobs Act with these exemptions.
There was another, one of the bullet points I saw, and maybe this isn't as that big of a deal, but I'm just curious your thoughts on where it kind of like the off ramp or the winding down, or, I know we use the word like rug or just probably way too frequently in crypto, but I saw something to the effect of I'll quote it, completed or otherwise permanently ceased all essential managerial efforts that it represented or promised it would engage in, and then they're done. Is that, I mean, my interpretation is once they, if they have white paper or roadmap or, hey, we're going to do all these things, once they've checked all those boxes, they're essentially released from any ongoing obligations, and no one can come back on them in the future because of some expectation they created themselves. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Roughly speaking, I mean, what it really hinges on is it's ultimately is the Howey test, right? So the Howey test is people misunderstand it. Basically, it's a test for deciding when there is a special type of implied at law contract called an investment contract, which also happens to be a security, right? And so, what they're really doing is they're sort of doing a contract analysis. They're saying, well, if it's an investment contract and you fully performed all of your executory obligations under the investment contract, well, the contract is gone and there's no longer a security, and the security is no longer applied. At the end of the day, that also was the intuition behind sufficient decentralization, in my opinion, because what were people promising to build? They were promising to build decentralized networks, right? So obviously, once that has been accomplished, there's no longer anything further they promised. They've kind of done what they said in the securities launch and no longer. That's the logic, and what it really ties into. And it's not so much like a complete release from liability, like you said, but it would mean that there's a decertification process where you no longer have to do this burdensome reporting. That would kind of be what it means on the issuer side. It would mean that insider sales of the tokens could be more free, because while those are securities, those are going to have restrictions on them, right? But once the fund promises are fulfilled, they can still just sell them freely as commodities without worrying about that. And then it may affect what venues the tokens can trade in, because one of the interesting things with the proposal, unlike what some people have pushed for, Lewis Cohen, obviously brilliant lawyer who's heavily cited in the release and inspired a lot of this, but his position was always that the secondary, when a token is sold as part of an investment contract, that investment contract is between the initial buyer and the seller, and then when they sell it, those secondary transactions are not securities transactions. And one of the benefits of that would be that the venue where those are happening doesn't have to have any sort of securities license or whatever. This a little bit calls that into doubt, because they are saying that, no, as long as there are unperformed obligations under the investment contract, pretty much all of the trades are going to be in securities transactions, because that investment contract sort of colors them. And that may affect, for example, what I'm expecting is that they're going to do a subsequent proposal on venues, like crypto exchanges and stuff, and how they can comply with this. But it may mean that crypto exchanges, if they're allowing tokens that are still subject to these investment contracts onto them, have elevated obligations with respect to those particular tokens. So we'll have to kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop on that one, but that's an aspect of it. And so what it also means, though, is any token holder can, for example, sue for securities fraud, right? As long as the investment contract is outstanding, not just the initial buyers who directly invested capital. So in some ways, it's good. It means more accountability, right? We've had a lot of drugging of retail token holders because they have no rights. And so in some ways, that can improve market structure quality as well. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it will mean issuers have to be more careful.
Yeah, to that point, I've got a post pulled up here on stream. And I pinned your post up top. Justin Slaughter, who's the VP at Regulatory Affairs at Paradigm, he quote tweeted you and said, I think the rule language indicates the SEC hasn't committed fully to either path, but it's leaving a fair amount of flexibility here to see what emerges during the comment period. This is probably going to be one of the top 3 areas of contention in comments, to which you replied, I think they have committed. They need to protect people, which means secondary buyers need fraud protection, which means secondary transactions need to be securities transactions. What are we missing? Is there anything that in this proposal that we haven't touched on yet, haven't talked about, that you think's a pretty big deal?
Well,
Whether
I
it's
think,
like,
one of the subtler aspects I would say is insider sales, right? Because the what this creates is an exemption for selling tokens to people and securities in a capital raising transaction, and then also letting those tokens be immediately liquid, unlike normal securities in an exempt transaction, right? And that's all well and good, but every single offer and sale of a security needs to either be registered or exempt. So you have to analyze things individually, and what it does not specifically exempt is sales by insiders, right? The people who run the project, maybe like the largest VC investor in the project. These are called, in securities jargon, these are referred to as not just restricted securities, but also control securities, right? And so now they did somewhat exempt that, because there's a separate cap under each of the exemptions for insiders to be able to sell their own stash. So I'm sure that will be happening, kind of like private tender offers happen in most venture rounds today with hot companies. But where they take out some of the employee stock options and stuff like that, people get earlier liquidity. But it does mean that the teams will have an incentive to really fulfill these investment contracts so that they can sell their own stake. Unfortunately, it also does create a little bit of a moral hazard. In fact, this whole thing does, where teams may be incentivized to just promise nothing, represent nothing, promise nothing, say as little as possible. This is our project and we're doing a token. That's it, right? And that may mean that you don't even need these exemptions, because it may not be considered by the SEC, at least, to be under the securities laws at all, because they've sort of limited Howey in an interesting way. So the best teams, the ones whose reputation speaks for itself, they will probably take that path, right? And they may end up not filing these disclosures at all, and query whether that's a good result, a perverse result, something we like, something we don't. But I do believe it would probably end up being, a possible effect of all this, and it may be something that people comment on in the comment periods.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, to your point, if trusted teams may go the route, that also seems like, as an investor, kind of like more information is good. Like, hopefully it's not a path where it's like, oh, we're dropping a token and we're not telling you anything about it. I'd prefer to learn more, even from trusted teams. But I understand.
There may be countervailing incentives there, right? Like, they may want institutions to invest, and the institutions may say, well, we're just not going to invest unless you treat it under this framework, right? So it remains to be seen, but it's a risk, I would say, with this type of approach.
Yeah, I did pin. I see we got Kevin. We got a hand up. We'll get to you in a second. And then we do have our next guest joining us. So we'll get through any rounds of questions here, and then we will shift topics. But if you haven't done so already, please do give Gabe a follow. Donna's also brought some great insight this morning, and go check out Metalex, Gabe's company as well, that he's building, and truly appreciate all that all of you are doing to quite literally help push the space forward. And I know this stuff doesn't just happen overnight, and exciting moment for those of us that are just participants here, and grateful for leaders like yourselves that have been fighting this good fight for years. I did post, there's a good graphic up top that kind of shows, it's titled "A Token's Life Under Regulation Crypto Assets." One is the raise, talks about those 2 exemptions from registrations, retail being welcome. 2 is disclose, plain language, answers what investors actually ask. 3 is build, deliver the promised work. And then 4 is exit, a defined end to the investment contract. Kevin, GM, appreciate you jumping up. You got a question for Gabe?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Chris, for putting this on. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on as well. So the last topic that Gabe just talked about is a perfect segue to my kind of edge case question. Some background for me: I led communications at Kick Messenger during their lawsuit with the SEC because they did a $100 million ICO in the United States. So this topic has been very near and dear to my heart for a very long time. Also been a longtime follower and fan of Mr. Shapiro. And when I read this, I see a lot of parallels to the safe harbor ideation that he worked on, especially with the completion of an initial covenant put forward by the token issuer at launch, which is really incredible to see maybe coming to life. I'm not going to get my hopes up. But it kind of, you used an important qualifier in the last statement that you made, which is like these edge cases where people did do a fair token launch and didn't represent anything. I mean, they might not fall under securities law in their view. And I feel like there's something weird here where like now these projects are not getting clarity, but the projects that want to maybe make some sort of promises are getting a path out of securities status. So the safe harbor is framed around an issuer completing or ceasing the I think they call it essential managerial efforts if promised under an investment contract, but that presumes that an investment contract existed in the first place. So kind of my question is two parts. One, for a token that did launch without a fundraise, without a pre-sale, and they, like you said, they didn't make any representations or promises to the purchasers, does the existence of this safe harbor kind of create like a negative assumption problem because there's no actual like clearly defined status for them? I mean, in other words, like are assets that never needed the harbor, presumably, because this is still like never really answered, are they like maybe falling suspect for falling outside of it? And like the second part of that being like if that founder that did no fundraiser maybe did and made no promises, if they keep building publicly, shipping software or making content, running events, whatever, do you think that ongoing activity risks being read as essential managerial efforts, even though nothing was ever represented? Or, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, there's kind of like three layers here, right? One is like, okay, I believe in this proposal, the SEC, and actually in a separate like sort of comment that they published earlier this year, they're essentially announcing a policy that, at least in the context of tokens, they're going to interpret Howie to mean that you can't reasonably expect someone's managerial efforts if they didn't say some relatively specific stuff that leads you to expect that. Now that's their interpretation. It doesn't change the law. It doesn't, Howie is a Supreme Court case. It typically has been interpreted much more broadly than that, including in crypto cases. Like, for example, in Library, the Library, however you say it, those guys hadn't really promised anything, but the judge basically made a really big deal of the intrinsic incentive alignment that they had by owning a lot of the tokens and inferred that people could reasonably expect their entrepreneurial efforts on that basis. And so that path will still be open to judges. But I think, as for the SEC, they're, at least for as long as this staff and these commissioners remain influential, that is their interpretation of Howie, and they won't apply it just in the context of this exemption. They'll apply it everywhere. And one of the things that's clear in the proposal is it has to be promises or representations made prior to or in connection with a capital raising transaction, right? So these post offering efforts, so to speak, and maybe like them implying something or something. This particular SEC seems to be saying that they're not going to interpret it that way. A judge still could. By the way, this is a long-standing thing outside of crypto with the SEC. There's a whole line of cases called viaticals, and there's literally a circuit split whether post-sale entrepreneurial efforts can count in the viaticals cases and things like that. So I expect this could have litigation in the future, but I think this SEC will not be, going after fair launch projects and things like that more strictly than they are projects that did sales. That wouldn't make any sense, and it's not consistent with how they're interpreting Howie.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great question, Kevin. Thanks for coming up. Appreciate it. We do got a special guest waiting in the green room. We're going to get on here in a minute, but we've got we'll go lightning round here. I saw a Metaverse Lawyer also jumped up on stage. Adam, you got a quick question for Gabe?
Yeah, thank you, Captain. Hey, Gabe, nice to chat again. So
Yo.
we've been working on internet native fundraising and helping founders raise money with tokens for about a year now. And so seeing this news come out yesterday was obviously very exciting, but upon digging deeper into it, it seems that this whole idea of the ownership token is going to be very difficult because it promises the holder basically like a claim on revenues and a claim on upside in case of a acquisition. And that, from my understanding, like veers directly into securities territory and would require like an equity offering under Reg CF or Reg D. So yeah, I just wanted to get your take on how do you think this impacts ownership tokens at large, including the ones issued by us or MetaDAO. Yeah, what are your early takes on this?
Yeah, so I'm somewhat limited in what I could say here because I have some of those projects as my clients. But I think that what you said about ownership coins is not strictly accurate, although I realize that sometimes how they're marketed. Really what they are essentially trusts that use a decision market widget as their organ, right? They don't actually give tokens any rights. Now, I agree, there may be some risk that like this is treated differently. Like the risk would be, that someone says, well, this is not an investment contract. This is some other type of security, like a share, right? And so therefore, this framework doesn't apply to it. So I don't think that they're shares, right? But I could understand from like the loose way they are sometimes discussed why people would worry about that. And I would basically say that like, yeah, all these projects will probably end up talking to the SEC, working with the SEC and that sort of thing. And it'll be worked through and there likely will be solutions. But I would also strongly encourage people to look at the actual documents for those projects and what they actually say, because they don't say what you just said. They don't say that tokens have a right to revenue. They don't say, they just say that, this is essentially, essentially a business trust that is run for, run with like specific rules, and that it has to use these decision markets as oracles, for key decisions, for what it's worth.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Metaverse lawyer, the mic is yours. We'll go to one more and we'll give Gabe closing comments, and then we will bring our next guest on stage here. Metaverse lawyer, GM.
Yeah, thanks, Captain. I was trying to figure out how to raise my hand. Couldn't find the button. Feeling like a boomer over here.
Oh, good.
But Gabe, good morning, man. Good to chat and good to see you in a minute. So I've been working in the position as chief legal officer of like a real estate investment fund here. And I guess I'm kind of in my era of like trying to force change from within after not getting in that position within like a crypto native company. I've been at a fiat based fund that we're raising investor funds largely through Reg A's. So I'm reading this, and like one of the things I don't think you've talked about yet, and wondered if you could touch on, but am I understanding it correctly that it basically exempts you from having to comply with like blue sky rules? Because that's one of the biggest pain points for us, frankly, and like one of the most expensive and annoying things is when we get these Reg A funds qualified and we're raising up money that way, and then we suddenly, we still have to be delayed for months at times to try to comply with all these onerous state by state laws. So could you talk about that?
Yeah, it does have a preemption provision in there. Generally speaking, like Regulation D, for example, which is another, highly used exemption, preempts state law under something called NISMIA. And so this would be the same for the exempt transactions. Now, again, you got to be a little bit careful because the exemption is for these broad public sales, and there may be other sales that need other exemptions, right? Like especially sales by insiders that are not, are within the cap for the specific exemptions. So they may need to look at, for example, they may rely on something called Rule 4A1.5 for some of their sales, and that is not exempt under NISMIA. So this is why this bill is kind of good for lawyers, because like we'll definitely like be navigating a lot of things. But so you got to be a little bit careful, but generally speaking, yes, it preempts state law.
Interesting. Okay, now I'll have to take a look at that. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out the difference between, doing a Reg A currently and just making the Reg A fund be specifically crypto. We're going to raise funds through, stable coins or crypto related, or what is currently being proposed.
Yeah, I mean, the limit, obviously,
right?
the limit there is going to be that, people who invest in funds generally want real rights, right? To like dividends and stuff. And then you're going to get into, it's no longer an investment contract. It's a share or a profit participation or something like that, right? And so it's just not going to fall into this exemption at all. But if you can raise a fund where people only get meme coins, God bless you. Go for it.
So, okay, cool. I just wanted to say, yeah, thanks we're kind of getting in the weeds a bit. And I know you guys need to shift gears, Captain, but just wanted to say from my perspective, having worked for the last almost year now at a fund, more of a traditional investment real estate backed fund, this is huge because, I've been, I guess, looking at ways to try to raise more through crypto, but up until now, sort of like the partners or the non-crypto people, I guess I would say, are very afraid to do that. But this just puts like this giant legitimization stamp on what I've been trying to tell them for the last year. So I'm stoked. And so the timing of this is great. And I think it's going to be absolutely a game changer for, the crypto industry.
It's awesome. No, thanks for sharing. Appreciate you coming up, Metaverse Lawyer. Great to hear from you. And it's great to hear from people who actually know and understand this stuff, because that was my thoughts as well. Is like it's going to be a lot new businesses, entrepreneurs building on chain, starting on chain, and then where does it go? What does it take them from there when they bring their investors on chain? They bring some of their consumers on chain. Like, I think a pretty major moment in crypto, especially for the builders here. Gabe, truly appreciate I know this was like impromptu. I saw your comments on this yesterday and took the shot. We could see if we get you on today. So really appreciate you joining us on such short notice.
Thanks for having me on, man. You're a great host with great listeners. Thanks so much.
Truly my pleasure. One of those listeners does have a question for you, and then and then feel free if there's any closing comments or final words or anything we didn't talk about yet you'd like to share. OX Lawyer asks, is MetaLex hiring? Looking for any mid-level associates?
For on the legal side, yeah, if you're a lawyer, yeah, we could. There's potential there. We're not hiring technical talent right now. We have a pretty solid team on that, but hit me up if you're looking for something. I know a lot of other people as well, and happy to help people out. And yeah, just generally, I'd say if you're a founder, you're doing a startup, MetaLex is known for tokenization, but we also have kind of all the normal features of Carta and stuff like that as an option, and they're currently free. So do check us out and try to use us for your companies.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. And again, to yourself and everyone else that has been fighting this fight, the good fight for us all. Greatly appreciate it. Appreciate you all pushing the space forward, and we need more leaders like yourself. So again, if you haven't already done so, go give them, even if you're not launching a business on chain, those reposts, the love and support on the timeline is free. And these attorneys, I know their hourly rate is much more than what we paid them to join us this morning. So give them some love and support. Appreciate them joining us. Sometimes it's a lot less. Sometimes it's actually great information, education, and advice. So really appreciate y'all being here. And that was very helpful to break that down, which while bullet points are great, pretty, like you said, I think 400-page proposal and pretty in-depth, and great to hear from people who actually know what they're talking about. But all that being said, without further ado, want to bring our next special guest on, who is building an on-chain startup and has some exciting stuff. Kind of been somewhat of the talk of the town as of late. This is Inside the Vault, brought to you by Unvault.
Yo, inside the vault, put royalties back on chain. Enforcement went optional, we bringing it back again. Freeze it at the source, then you move it with ease. Claim it where you land, one live, no duplicate keys. No rappers, no doubles, identity stays intact. Clean ownership trail, royalties paid, that's a fact. No, one live, no duplicate keys.
Welcome back to Coffee with Captain. My pleasure to have Aaron Haber join me here on stage and on stream for those watching the video. Aaron, before we get into the latest, which by the way, I think it's safe to say maybe Simple Farmer has kind of become the a main character on crypto Twitter. Not far behind him would be you and Ernest right now. This partnership and team of all that you all are building is on a little bit of a heater here as of late. But before we get into all things Unvault and the latest and greatest there, and how people can make sure to get their bugs allocation, I don't know how much of that conversation you caught, but pretty big news coming out of the SEC yesterday. Did any thoughts or comments from your end on the conversation this morning?
Well, I popped in at the very last minute.
Yeah.
It sounded great, and I said to myself, I am going to listen to the beginning of the show and into that segment. I do also have the benefit of having Ernest Lee as my partner, and so last night he said, "Oh, I've just been reading over this SEC document," and And I'm sure as you went over, it's up for public comment, and it'll be 3 to 6 months before they release a finalized version of it. But I need to dig more into it. But it sounds like things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, it is a proposal. It's going to be a few months of comments, to your point, and but kind of the at least from my perspective, one of the big takeaways is, assuming this does move forward as planned, as proposed, creates an incredible startup environment on chain. And for someone who's building a launchpad on chain, more than a launchpad, not to downplay Unvault and what you all are building. Yeah, I know you've had your DMs are blowing up with other existing crypto native brands that want to utilize your tech and plug into your ecosystem. I think there's a path, and there's a an outcome in the near future where it's not only crypto natives you're helping go omni-chain and protect royalties, but I think you could see a new class of entrepreneurs, builders, investors coming on chain as a result of this. These very favorable crypto or pro crypto rules coming out of the SEC.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And what I want to look out for is that we don't have a repeat of 2021, where you also had so many scammers coming out.
That's the concern. That's the twofold. Like the prevailing concern is, and I'll quote some people here without giving proper credit, but if he doesn't mind me, I'll let it who it is after this fact. But it's in a private chat. So he says, this is going to be this cycle's PPP loans, quick way to extract money while current administration's in place. People with companies, friends of the administration will benefit more. Non-financial advice, get your LLC set up so you can raise during this window. I think there's two concerns. One, it could lead to, just as there was with ICO season 1, it could lead to more grifters, scammers, charlatans, etc., taking advantage of the excitement and ultimately just leaving with your liquidity.
So as an industry, we just need to make sure that as best we can, if the normies come back this time, the best we can, we protect them the best we can. Part of that is making sure that the KOLs of the space are not leading people astray as best you can, not amplifying voices that are completely full of shit, like last cycle. We happen to have people that are really great that have been around for the past 5 or 6 years that really only pitch what they believe in. So anyway, it's we've seen everybody get excited and come in before. If we get another opportunity to have, forget about the companies, right? Like, that'll be cool. It's the normies dipping their toes back into the industry, right? That is the big deal. And guys like you, guys like me, other people need to make sure that we are being as vocal as possible about the pitfalls that people experienced last time, and not just enough financial advice, not just to do your own research, but hey, stop and think about what you're doing. A lot of the people that are getting a lot of attention are totally full of shit. They're getting paid to advertise certain things. They may be getting vested. They may dump on you. I don't want to be negative, but we saw that last time, and we saw that kill the retail and the normie aspect of the industry. One of the things that led to everything kind of taking a nosedive. So let's just protect our new friends that come in, and let's hold the people that are establishing new ideas and new businesses to account.
Yeah, well said. I had Hester Pierce's comments on this pulled up earlier, but and that was the one thing I singled out is like, she says, I'll quote her again, the moral of the story was that rules should be written so that well-intentioned people can follow them without having to abandon legitimate pursuits. And so while that's really exciting and I love that, I'm also, while I am an optimist, I also am unfortunately, I live in reality. And I would be naive to not think that while yes, the intention is for well-intentioned people to be able to follow these guidelines and execute on their legitimate pursuits, it is going to open up opportunities for non-well-intentioned individuals to pursue non-legitimate pursuits. And it's on us to not just ape into everything and assume everyone is, because it's new, it's legal now, assume that everyone has good intentions at heart.
Right. But also, remember, there are people that are sitting in prison cells from the last cycle that committed fraud and, legitimately defrauded people. Right. So it's not like everybody got away with whatever they could.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We as an industry, every time a business fails, we go, they rugged. No. There were people that legitimately rugged. There were people that made millions, closed down the socials, left everything, didn't fulfill their promises, and then tried to come back and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, some of them were extradited to the US from other countries, and they were put on trial mostly in the Southern District of New York, and some of them are in prison, right? So, you have rules so that people, well-intentioned people, can follow them, but you also have rules so that when people are clearly breaking them, not like I didn't dot an I or something, but when people are clearly trying to defraud people, it's that animated GIF for Fred Armisen, go directly to jail, right? Go to jail right now, whatever it says. So I've always said I want regulation, and I know people in our sector of the woods are like, no, we're blockchain. No, we want regulation so that you all can be protected, and then also that and by the way, a lot of your audience are builders, right? I like having guidelines, right? It doesn't mean we can't innovate. I mean, with Unvault, a lot of our innovation came because of compliance, figuring out a way to be compliant and do the things that we know the space wants to do. So having black and white, here are the rules, that actually leads to a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity, and also keeping people to account and holding people to account. That is what we want. So you don't want regulations like you can't do this. You want regulations that say you can do this, but don't be a total piece of shit and rip everybody off or you're going to jail. I can live with those regulations.
Seems, dare I say again, common sense, right? I'm not trying to oversimplify it, not trying to downplay it, but yeah, it's at the end of the day, if you try to defraud and scam people, you should have consequences.
Yep. And look, I can draw a comparison to the driverless cars, that are coming out. If you remember Ape Fest, they had those Zooks,
mm-hmm.
the cool looking toasters that didn't even have a steering wheel,
mm-hmm.
Pretending to be a car, like that. And there's after years of the government trying to figure out regulations, because you didn't have to think about this before. They're still figuring out in some ways, but in some ways, Zooks just began accepting payment for rides in the last week, I believe. It's taken them a year, maybe 2 years.
Wait, is that why it was free? Was it because they weren't sure if they could do it, so they just had to do it for free?
Legally, they could not do it, so they had to do it for free, I believe. I mean, I'm not Zooks' lawyer, but the way that I understood it was they did not have a license to charge, but they could operate. Now they've been cleared to have a license to charge. And so the point is, when a brand new technology pops out of nowhere and the government needs to figure it out, yeah, it makes sense that the government needs to figure it out. And the figuring out shouldn't be, no, Zooks or Tesla or whatever, you can never do this. It should be, oh, here's a new technology. We need to make sure it is safe. I mean, in the case of Zooks, we legitimately safe, so people aren't getting run over every day. But we need to make sure it's safe. We need to make sure that people aren't going to be harmed in any way, and we need to understand it. And look, I mean, crypto's been around for quite a while. A lot of us came into NFTs in 2020, 2021. It seems like forever. It's not that long of a time. Especially this government, our government moves so fucking slow. It's not that long of a time for them to figure shit out.
So I got to ask, as a builder in this space,
Well,
as someone who's building a platform for other builders, like I'm guessing this is exciting. Like you love to see this. Does this, does this also mean now, like using the the self-driving car example, does this mean that because we're getting better or now actual rules that that the degen the bugs mint is no longer going to be free? It's now going to be, I heard, a 6.9 ETH mint price.
Yeah, no, I mean, even if Ernest looked at it and said we can charge now, I think it would be shitty to charge for it. We're kind of big on keeping our word, which doesn't mean that we always get it perfectly right every time, but it does mean that we do our best to keep our word. Point in case in point. Let's just say case in point this time.
I don't know which way it is actually.
It's case in point, but Chumlins. Okay, Chumlins on base. We don't know what happened to Mr. Chumlins. He signed a contract with us to unvault his collection. We put him on the first list of official partners for the Bugs Mint, and I started getting DMs like, "Hey, Chumlins, we haven't heard from the guy in months." And I'm like, "Oh shit! Well, he did sign the contract in May." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so we reach out to him. I don't believe we've heard back from him yet. And honestly, Ernest and I are just like, we hope the guy's okay. Right? I mean, I know everybody's like, right, rugged. I mean, I hope the guy's okay. Not that I hope he rugged, but I hope that would be better for him than if he just walked away from the space than if he's like in a ditch somewhere. So I hope he's okay, right? But we took Chumlins off the list of partners because we didn't want to advertise the collection because we didn't know what was happening with the collection. However, we are keeping our word that Chumlins does have an allocation for the Genesis Bugs Mint because we know, because people have told us that once we put them on the list, people went out and bought Chumlins because of the allocation. So we're not always perfect, but we do keep our word, right? And so as funny as it is to talk about, like, yes, we'd like to charge 69 ETH now for the Bugs Mint. No, the Bugs Mint will still be free. Yes, we did make it free to be compliant. It's funny. It's funny if the rules have changed that we didn't need to do that because I think
I don't. They haven't actually changed yet. I was just trying to make a joke. I'm not as funny as you, but do you mind? Like, can you expand on that? Is that something you're able to speak to? Like, what makes it compliant by being free, where it's more of a gray area if you charge for it? Are you able to expand on that?
Yeah, not entirely because
it's okay if not.
First thing, my understanding is that we are going to be the umbrella rewards program that allows the other collections to give the minters bonuses to minters. And if your listeners don't know, even though I've been, saying it everywhere I can, people can probably like speak it back to me at this point. The big utility of the bugs is that one, you mint first on every participating collection in Unvault. Two, those collections can give you minters bonuses. And the minters bonuses can be anything. I mean, the bugs have a 6551 wallet. For those of you that don't know, it means that the bugs basically have their own wallet, right? And so the NFT has a wallet. And the every time you mint with that bug, you can get dropped an NFT that says like, hey, you have a minter's bonus from this collection that you minted. You have 3 of them because you minted 3. You have 5 because you minted 5. And those give you certain perks. I talked with one collector who's going to be minting that we haven't announced yet, who has like a wonderful retail side that, maybe it's going to be a coupon for the retail side. Some of them will be RWAs. I suppose that is an RWA. Some of them could be crypto drops. Some of them can be NFT drops. Some of them can be, it really could be anything. I mean, one collection talked to me about dropping like punk rock tickets to people, but it can also take the form of rewards that are equal to a percentage of future sales of the NFT that you minted. But to stay compliant, at least until yesterday, and I have to review it with Ernest, the collection is not allowed to talk about it because it could it could stir things up in terms of whatever the legal shit that Ernest would say is we have to revisit, can these projects actually talk about that now? And the answer is I don't know. I can tell you though that we've got Ernest. It's like when the Iron Man says we've got a Hulk. We've got Ernest. A legal Hulk. But then, in addition to our international patent attorneys, now we're also working with Fenwick to make sure that
Oh wow, okay.
everything we do is compliant. So, we're taking this stuff seriously. We have to, right? But yeah, I'm excited. The legal stuff is the least exciting part. I would like to not have to speak like a maniac, when I'm like doing verbal gymnastics to make sure that we're compliant. It would be much better to say, you can just do X and get right to Y, as opposed to me having to say you can do A to go to get to Z, right? I mean, it would be nice to just be able to speak like a normal person.
Right.
Chris, by the way, I have to introduce you to somebody
Okay.
who is listening to you talk about a collection that you want to launch.
Yes.
And they have ideas for what your collection should be, and they're a phenomenal artist, and dare I say, toy maker, and they would like to talk with you.
Let's talk.
Should have been a DM, but I want to get people excited about the potential,
Dude,
project.
I don't say this lightly. I've been blown away in a positive way by the amount of artists and devs and collab managers that have reached out, and I don't still have it all thought out, and we're going to talk. We'll do Friday again, if maybe tomorrow, but most likely Friday. We'll talk a little bit about this to be named later project. But yeah, it's very exciting to me that there's so many people interested. I'm humbled that so many people are interested in working on this and finding ways to incorporate as many that want without over making it more challenging because we're working with too many people. But yeah, appreciate it. And yeah, we'll certainly, I'm open. If anyone listening in that's interested in any capacity, shoot me a DM. I'd ask for patience. Busy day today after the show, but going to continue to move this stuff forward, and I'm pumped. If you're asking when, the answer is after Unvault officially launches, because that's where we're going to be launching.
I'm very excited about that. We're friends, and I also really admire and respect you. So I'm really excited to have that go. I was going to give like joke suggestions about what you could do, and then I started saying, no, some of these actually would be pretty cool. So I'm not going to spill the beans on ideas right now. Obviously, it's up to you. It's your collection. But for the people that are able to mint bugs, can we say that before you talk to collab managers, can we say the bugs go first?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Because
as long as so this is a real question then. So what I know, bugs, if you're just hearing about it for the first time, bugs will be the Genesis collection from Unvault, and there'll be perks there, many of which Aaron's mentioned several. But then one of the things is early access to partner projects launching on Unvault. What's the total supply of bugs again going to be? Do we know this?
Oh yes, I know, because
Is it public or no?
Yeah, it's so it's 5,000 mintable pieces, but we're going to mint 6,250.
Okay.
1,250 into the Anvil AMM.
Makes sense.
To seed it. Now, that means that there's up to 6,250, because people could buy them out of the AMM should they want to. And but who knows? Maybe there'll be 1,000 active minters. Maybe there'll be 3,000, 4,000. We don't know. We'll see.
So then I guess when you're talking about first dibs, are you thinking like there'd be a phase and maybe there's I don't know, 50 spots for bugs holders, and then it's like for first come first serve of those holders, or how does this play out in reality when you're just as far as like it's just a pure numbers standpoint?
Well, I guess okay. So I think people will understand this better once we launch and they see what the bugs do, right? Is it that everybody put their bugs in the anvil, and so there's only 50 out of 6,250? I doubt it, right? I think that people are going to understand that these bugs get you major access to mint first. You don't have to whitelist grind on Unvault. And it also means that you get the Minter's bonuses, which, Cap, you can offer a Minter's bonus. I hope you do. The only people who can get it are the bugs.
And I assume these would be like quote unquote activated bugs or all bugs.
No, I think it's all bugs.
Okay.
No. Now, Ernest and I have discussed doing things for the bugs that we haven't discussed publicly yet. But the big two perks are you go first. And when I say participating collections, I mean, like, Cap, if you said, you know what, I don't really want 3,000 hungry minters paying attention to my collection, I'd be like, you're out of your fucking mind, but okay. The second part is you get these minters bonuses that only the bugs can get and carry in their 6551, which could be anything, really could be anything. So your question makes sense, and I've heard this question a lot from new collections that are going to be minted on Unvault. And right now I get meetings when I have meetings with new collections. They go, well, I've already guaranteed 500 spots, and I'm like, oh god, like you're like 2 or 3 months away from mint. But I get it, I've been there. People are nervous, like, well, who's going to mint this thing? I need to have guaranteed spots. 90% of those people aren't going to show up, right? And so for you, I would say why not just let the bugs mint now? Like let's say, how many holders do you have in the DGen collection?
Couple hundred.
Fine. So what you do is, let's say you have a 5,000 piece collection, and we're just brainstorming here. Okay, you have a 5,000 piece collection. Mint a few hundred for promotions for the team, and then, well, actually, here's what I would suggest. Okay. Let's say it's a 5,000 piece collection like bugs. I would suggest minting 6,250, putting 1,250 into the AMM to seed it, should you decide to do that. Okay. And then you take, I don't know, however many you think you want for promos on the team. I mean, we're going to drop each team member. We have, 5 or 6 team members, like $2, right? And then the rest we want for promotions, giveaways, etc. We're going to take, I think, maybe 300 to 400. Okay, that leaves us with, say, 4,600. Well, for us it's different because we are the bugs, so we're minting those. But let's say that the bugs already exist. I would say, like, for you, I'd say, okay, have 4,000 available for the bugs, and then keep an allocation for your OGs to be able to mint at the same time, right? So the bugs can only eat up those 4,000, but you are going to leave enough so that every single one of your OGs who's holding your OGs can just traipse into the mint and pick up, whatever the max mint is for your collection.
Yeah, I hear you. I am. There's, in addition to DGen pass holders, there's also those that supported order board shorts, and there's a few other people I want to make sure get brought along with this, pulling a page out of
whatever the number is.
Simple Farmers Playbook, and making sure everyone that supported me in the past has an opportunity to pick this up if they'd like.
Right. Whatever the number is, Cap, but I'm talking with people that have great ideas but no following yet, no yet, right? And they are going the traditional playbook of, oh my god, need to give out, guaranteed spots, etc. When I think the reality is going to become, hey, you have thousands of minters who want to mint your project. Put out a good project, explain to people clearly what you want to do. We will help you amplify that, on our socials and our spaces, even bringing them in to talk with you. This is an idea that we had, however long ago we spoke about, is that when we
Mhm.
have mints, we want to be able to highlight them on your show, right? And then let the bugs go to town and eat, right? Let them descend and swarm upon your mint, because you know, when new projects come to me and they say, well, I'm really concerned that the bugs are going to like take up most of the supply. It's like they're minters from all over the NFT space. And also, God bless you for being so naive and thinking that marketing is so easy, that your problem is too many people want your mint, because we're happy to provide that problem to you.
Good
But
problem to have.
yeah, I mean, it is not easy. The reason why we have the bugs is because I could not mint things out on a single chain, and it was ridiculous when I knew that there were thousands of people out there that wanted to mint. The bugs finds those people, puts them in a group, and lets them know what's coming out. It's up to the collection, but let the bugs eat. If your biggest problem is that you sold out too fast, you're welcome.
Good problems to have. Aaron, I'm pumped. I do have I could stay and chat about this all morning. I really am super stoked to where the space is at right now, and I think it is just warming up, and not even like full bore. I think I agree with a lot of people that say it's going to be Q4 things really heat up, but I think those who are building now and get positioned well now are the ones who could really capitalize on Q4 if we get that.
Well, build during the bear. That's what everybody says. Build
Yep.
during the bear. Guess what
Indeed.
Ernest did?
Indeed. That said, I've got to do a wheel spin here, and I've got to get on the road. I moved my daughter into college today, and she's on the road, and I can't. I gotta.
Congratulations.
She drives past me here in a second, but I gotta be. I can't be too far behind. What else do we need to know about Unvault? Do you have another space tomorrow?
Yes, we have spaces every Tuesday and Thursday. I am being asked to come and sit in for AMAs and a lot of Discord servers. So might be one that you're in. So watch out for announcements from whatever groups you're in. We are getting through DMs as quickly as possible. If we don't answer your DM right away, it is not personal, I promise. But feel free to give me a gentle bump. And we are just waiting on the final okay from Quit. I believe everything's been remediated, but Quit is doing his job and making sure that he's doing it right. And so even though the team is like, we're ready to go, I'm glad that Quit is taking the time to make sure that we are 1,000% safe and secure for everybody using the Unvault platform. That's going to be way more important than if we launch on a Tuesday or a Thursday. So we are getting down to it. We are getting down to it. Congratulations on your kid going to college. I understand it. I have a kid who is going to school as well this weekend, and so it's exciting and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, hard to believe for sure. Yeah. Thank you though for the kind words. Appreciate it. And yeah, had a surprise visitor as well. So so if you got the space, I'll just see if it's on the account. If you got the space link, we go ahead and feel free to pin it up top, or I can do the same. If you're not already following Unvault account, I don't know what you're sleeping on. Maybe the most hype mint to come out of this this current cycle here.
Let me say one thing and then I'm done.
Go for it.
This is what I want people to know. I am very excited that people are putting us on their lists as a Robinhood chain mint, and that we're a mint. Yeah, we're Robinhood. We're also ETH. We're also Solana. We're an omni-chain company. Okay, but the big thing for people to know is we're an NFT trading market. We're like, an OpenSea or a Magic Eden, except we're giving collections and traders new tools. We're cheaper to use, and I dare say that you'll like the interface. So yes, please get a bug. I hope you get a bug, but that is just the beginning of what Unvault as an NFT trading platform is. And with that, Cap, goodbye.
Hey, thank you, sir. Pleasure as always. Pumped for you guys. Pumped to participate. DGen holders will have allocation there. I'm excited
Yeah.
to for all of you to get a bug and participate in this ecosystem. But yeah, let's Aaron, again, appreciate you as always. This was Inside the Vault, brought to you by Unvault. And yeah, that's just one of the other perks of this ecosystem is you can get featured here on Coffee with Captain, thanks to the partnership with Unvault. Aaron, you're welcome to hang out if you'd like. No obligations. I'm going to do a quick spin here, and then I got to hit the road. But
bye, Cap. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So my first time using this wheel, I hope I don't have to spin it 10 times, or rather 12 times. And where's the screen share even? Oh, don't fail me now. The StreamYard does not like the wheel. It's bogging me down. Must be a memory hog. All right.
Cap, today was a great show, man. Like I'm talking about, I loved the whole thing about the regulatory conversation and stuff like that. Very, very inspiring to see where the space has gone and where we could go with these future products. Because now, essentially, you can create a Web 2 product, and you know what I'm saying. They won't even know it's Web 3. It's pretty great.
Yep, great. What a time to be alive, man. I'm super stoked and appreciate the kind words. Shout out to Gabe and Donna and everyone else who jumped up. Appreciate Gabe. If you didn't give him a follow earlier, you should go do that to give him show him some love. I am checking real quick, so I want to make sure my numbers are right. But the first two spins here are going to be guaranteed list. So big. While I do believe Unvault is the most hype mint coming up, not far behind it is going to be these rec traders. And you're going to get to the first two names that pulled are going to be guaranteed. And then we've got the next 10 are going to be first come or allow list. So guaranteed, and then I think then the first come first serve phase. But I may have to spin multiple times. Never used this before, but comes highly recommended. Just disregard the ads, and we're going to spin now. So this person is going to get a guaranteed list for the rec traders. It's going to take too long. I may not be able to do the other 10. Oh, Diego is on a heater. The guy just wins. Diego, congrats. Congrats for guaranteed mint for the rec traders allow list. So yeah, I'm going to do, just for the sake of time, because I got to get out of here. I thought I might be able to like pick the number of winners I wanted to spin, but it's one at a time. Mayhem, man, these guys are, I can't make this up. This was random. You all saw it. I did not code this wheel. Although Mayhem was the one who suggested it to me, I think. So maybe Mayhem did fix this. But I kid you not, the last allow list we did in the war room for Mancers, Mayhem and Diego both won those. So I don't know what it means, but if you need a little extra luck today, maybe go give Diego and Mayhem some love, because they insane. Like it's mind blowing that people doubted that I did it random last time, and that's why we brought the wheel out. I was getting fudded because I didn't show the how we picked the winners. So we brought the wheel out, and then that's just how karma works. If you think Mayhem and Diego won unfairly last time, the wheel of names says that's not the case. Anyways, all right, those two are in. I will, you know what, I'll spin it real quick. I wish I could do it like shorter time frame, because this is I really do have to run. Be Epic, congratulations for making it. Does it pull people off the list? Do we know that? We'll find out, I guess. Teacher Katie, man, the legends are winning. You love to see it. Another allow list for first come first serve. That's 2. I'm going to do the other one later because I do got to get on the road. Appreciate everyone's patience. This is Peter, barely. Peter, congrats. That's too loud. Next winner, Steve K. Bark. Look at this guy. Now that he's no longer, now that he's no longer a co-host, he's allowed to participate in the giveaways. Dr. Willie, everyone loves a good Dr. Willie. Congratulations, Dr. Willie. Teacher. Nope. Aris. I think that's Osiris. I could be wrong. So that's 6. We got 4 more to go. And then Mayhem, I'm sorry, Machiavelli, I got 1 extra. So Mayhem. Teammate, we'll see if I can add him on both. If not, we'll do an alternate. We'll pick a replacement. So the answer to my question, hopefully I can. Diego, Jesus Christ, they're definitely gonna think Mayhem fixed this. They both win guaranteed and the allow list phase. Dillo, yay, good one there. Gotta love to see the. I mean, everyone on this wheel is a legend. And Machiavelli, DM me your EVM address, and that'll be my birthday gift to you. We'll give you first come, first serve allow list as well. Bucked up, congratulations.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, sir. Least I can do for your birthday. And I'm going to do 2 more. I held back a couple extra just in case. And since Mayhem and Diego will hit both, I think I can add them both. Phonics, congratulations. Was Phonics already on one? Or is that his first one as well? I don't remember. Let me see. Well, he's on there now. Okay. So first 2, I remember Diego and Mayhem. And then we got one more. I guess what I could do is I could remove the name after they win. That would be the way to do it to avoid duplicates. But so far we've been running pretty good, except for the 2 that won the guaranteed. And Calvary Canuck rounds it out. So there's our winners. Congratulations, everyone. Diego and Mayhem, don't assume first come, first serve. I need to make sure I can even do that. It might be limit 1 per your wallet, but we've got 10 other first come, first serves. We got Machiavelli. Congratulations to you all. Appreciate you all being here. And I got to do the other one tonight. And maybe I'll do a screen grab or something. But yeah, I got to run. Sorry. My apologies. Great show today. Really enjoyed everyone being here. Appreciate everyone who added to the chat and joined us on stage. Greatly appreciate you all. We'll be back tomorrow. It's a day trip for me. So we'll be back normal time, normal stream. We'll see you all at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Until then, have a wonderful day, everyone.